Siri was reading a magazine in the backstage lounge when the shadow appeared. It was Christmas Eve, and the matinee had just started. As female understudy, Siri had to be ready to perform should the star of the Palace Theatre's first ever pantomime fall ill. But halfway through a 6-week run, Jade Martin had fended off every last seasonal bug, and Siri had given up hope of ever stepping into Cinderella's glass slippers. The shadow was cast onto the wall, opposite the open door behind which Siri sat. The outline was human-shaped, apart from the head. A long muzzle, topped with a pair of antlers like a stag. It was Tom, male understudy, wearing a mask from the props room. She knew it. Siri tiptoed over to hide behind the door, and was about to jump out at Tom when he spoke in rather a strange voice. "The revel begins," he said. For a moment, it seemed as if he was about to enter the room. Then the audience applauded in the auditorium above, and the shadow of the antlers receded as he stepped back into the corridor. Siri shivered. Typical of Tom to take a joke too far. She marched out into the corridor, catching up with him by the stairs leading up to the stage. He had his back to her, but it was Tom, all right. She recognized his jumper. "Very funny, Rudolph," said Siri. Tom turned round, and Siri gasped. The stag's head was like no mask she'd ever seen. This was alive, with eyes like dark pearls behind blinking lids, breath snorting out through a wet nose. Its neck was soft and furry, disappearing below the top of Tom's jumper, but the rest of the body was human. "The revel begins," it said again. Siri ran back down the corridor. The props room was open to her right, and she dived inside, slamming the door and turning the latch. She was just getting her breath back when she felt a hand on her shoulder and screamed. "You look scared," said the man. He was tall, lean, and wore a dark coat. White shirt, black boots, eyes sharper than frost, gleamed beneath jagged eyebrows. "I do tend to, when people jump out at me," Siri fumed. "Not to mention when they turn into stags," she thought. "I'm the doctor," said the man. "Who are you?" Sorry, I'm the understudy." The doctor frowned at the room. It was packed with props, from spare heads for the pantomime horse to the large blue police box. He waved a device like an usher's torch in the air. It made a soft whirring sound. "According to the sonic screwdriver, this is definitely the Bishop's Palace," he said. "About 100 years ago, there was the Palace Theatre," said Siri. "No, it isn't," said the doctor. Still giddy with fear, Siri couldn't help herself. "Oh, yes, it is," she grinned a little. "I don't get it," said the doctor. "It's a Panto joke." "No, I mean Panto. I don't get it. Scots, songs, endless puns." "Well, audiences love it, even if you don't," said Siri. "There's a full house up there right now." "So tell me," said the doctor, "if they love it so much, how come we haven't heard a single laugh or round of applause since we started talking?" Siri listened. The doctor was right. The auditorium above their heads had fallen completely silent. "Where did everybody go?" Siri whispered. Inside the auditorium, the lights were off, and everything was quiet. "They're still here," said the doctor. He shone the sonic screwdriver along the nearest row. A man was frozen with a toffee halfway to his mouth. Next to him, a woman's face was fixed in a wide smile, row upon row. It was all the same story. "Talk about a captive audience," said Siri. "Oi! No pantoing on my watch," said the doctor. Up on stage, a single spotlight suddenly pierced the darkness stars shining down on a woman wearing tattered rags. "That's Jade. She's Cinderella," said Surrey, following the doctor as he bounded up onto the stage. Taking care not to step into the spotlight, he scanned Jade with the sonic. "Oh, no, it isn't," he said, and her face began to change. Copper-coloured fur grew out of her cheeks. Dog-like ears sprouted on top of her head. Jade's mouth shrank and opened, revealing the pointed teeth of a fox. "The revel begins," the fox said. Surrey stared in horror at the fox that had recently been Jade Martin. "It's like what happened to Tom," she said. "The male understudy. Just before I met you, he turned into a stag." The doctor scanned Jade with his sonic screwdriver. "Something in the spotlight has rewritten her DNA. It's turned her into a hybrid, a cross between animal and human." Behind Jade, another spotlight came on. Above George Hollis, the pantomime dame, his brightly made-up mouth changed into a black and white snout. "Doctor," said Surrey. "Shh, thinking," said the doctor, still scanning. Fur covered George's face as his head turned into a badger. He walked towards the doctor, the spotlight moving with him. "Doctor, behind you," said Surrey. "I've warned you once. No Panto," said the doctor, just as George grabbed him around the arms and held him tight. A third spotlight moved towards the captured doctor. Surrey rushed to help him, stumbling over the giant pumpkin that became Cinderella's coach. Scooping it up, she ran at George, jamming the plastic prop onto his badger head. George released his grip just before the spotlight could reach the doctor. He grabbed Surrey's hand and they ran out of the auditorium. Surrey was standing in the most incredible theatre set she'd ever seen. The doctor had led her back to the props room and into the blue police box. The inside was miles bigger than the outside. Weird symbols covered the softly glowing walls. A big console in the middle of the room was festooned with buttons, levers, and lights. "Are you an alien?" said Surrey in wonder. "Top class understudy. This is my ship. Welcome to the TARDIS," said the doctor, typing on a keypad below the monitor screen. "It's like a mad science lab. Thanks. You can stay. But what are you doing here?" "I was flying the TARDIS in front of the Earth, trying to use it as a shield to stop an alien spaceship crashing here. A spaceship made entirely of light." "So, those spotlights changing people into animals are from another planet?" "Yes. And we need to find out which one in order to save them. I tracked the lightship to the crash site, the exact coordinates of this theatre. The TARDIS was thrown off course by the collision. Right place, wrong time." He swiveled the monitor round to face Surrey. 24th of December 1902 flashed in red. "Then we're really in trouble," she said. "Well, we would be." The doctor pulled a lever. A column in the middle of the console began to rise and fall. "If we didn't have a time machine." They emerged from the TARDIS into the pantry of the bishop's palace, its shelves stuffed with festive food. The doctor took a reading with the sonic screwdriver. "There's a few hours left until the ship crashes." "We should warn people. Get them to safety," said Surrey. "Oh, the crashing lightship won't hurt anyone. It's what happens afterwards that concerns us. The people in 2014 are in danger, and we need to work out why." Outside the pantry, they followed the sound of a muffled hubbub to a closed door at the end of a long hallway. The door swung open, and Surrey froze. In front of them stood a man with the head of a horse. "The revel begins," the horse said. Surrey tried to run, but the doctor stopped. "Wait," he said. "Study closer, understudy." Surrey looked again at the horse. It was different to the animal heads of Tom, Jade, and George. This one looked more like a pantomime horse. It spoke again. "The revel begins, so won't you join us?" "Well, you heard the horse," said the doctor. They followed it into a ballroom, where an expectant crowd sipped steaming mugs of mulled wine. A small group stood to one side. Some of them were tuning musical instruments. Others had animal head masks tucked under their arms. "Mummers," said the doctor. The man nearby gave a bow. like a version of pantomime performed in England till the mid-20th century. The actors would often wear animal masks. The revel begins, wondered Surrey. Tom and the others repeated it after they were transformed, like actors learning lines. Oh, Surrey, that's brilliant, the doctor shouted. Thanks, said Surrey. And also terrible, he added. Oh, Surrey's face fell. Why? Why? Audience participation, the doctor scowled. Yes, you don't like Panto, I get it, okay? Said Surrey, rolling her eyes. No, you really don't, said the doctor. I think I know where the lightship came from, and if I'm right, it means the end of human life on planet Earth. Procenia, said the doctor. He pointed at a large planet on the monitor as the TARDIS travelled back to 2014. An entire civilization built from light, home to two races linked by a deep mental bond. The Ados and the Logos. The Ados are invisible beings of pure creative energy. They use light to make the most beautiful ships in the universe. The Logos are humanoid like you, Siri, and they're the Ados' biggest fans. The Ados can only build something if the Logos are there to appreciate it. Play can't happen without the audience. Exactly. The psychic appreciation of the Logos fuels everything the Ados create. But why create animals out of actors? When it crashed in 1902, before that damaged ship put them into emergency hibernation, the Ados got a glimpse of that Murmur's play. Fast forward, 2014. A theatre opens on the same site. Big crowds every day. That appreciation wakes the Ados up. They try to repair the ship straight away by recreating the last thing that they saw an audience enjoy. But the audience are terrified, said Surrey, and all that fear is confusing the Ados. At first, I thought it was just the actors at risk. But in that Mama's play, the actors were part of the audience. Unless their ship is repaired, the Ados will keep transforming people across the entire planet. You have a plan, right? Of course. I'm going to do what I always do. Make it up as I go along. Doesn't sound like much of a plan. Do chime in if you've got a better idea, said the doctor. Surrey thought for a moment. How do you feel about getting into character? She said. The theatre auditorium was still in semi-darkness. On stage, the cast of Cinderella stood immobile beneath the Ados spotlights, transformed into human-animal hybrids. In the audience, a new spotlight shone down on an old woman, her head changing into a bear while the petrified crowd looked on in a waking trance. As a result, nobody noticed a horse-headed newcomer step onto stage. The revel begins, said the old woman bear. So won't you join in? Said the newcomer. The doctor removed the pantomime head Siri had taken from the pop's room. An Ados spotlight moved towards him, but the doctor dived nimbly behind the back of badger-headed George. Now! The doctor shouted. Over in the wings, Siri switched on the house lights. The sudden glare broke the Ados' psychic hold on the audience, who shook their heads groggily. Don't panic. It's all part of the show, said the doctor. We need your help with some audience participation. The fox-headed figure of Jade lunged at the doctor, who only just managed to miss getting caught by her. Look lively, he yelled at the crowd, running to the front of the stage. I haven't got all day. Siri rushed to the doctor's side. The cast of animal humans surrounded them in a semicircle. Slowly but surely, they stepped ever closer. It'd help if you didn't glare at the audience, Siri said. I'm not glaring. No, you're right. That's more of a grimace. This is my happy face, said the doctor. A boy in the front row suddenly piped up. Oh, no, it isn't. A few people started to laugh. The animal-headed actors stopped in their tracks at the sound. Siri elbowed the doctor in the ribs. He sighed heavily. Oh, yes, it is, he said. The audience roared. The fox's features transformed back into those of Jade Martin. "Doctor, it's working." "The Orance's mental energy is changing," said the doctor. "But the adults need more than laughter to repair their ship." Several people in the front row got shakily to their feet. "Wait, the show's not over," shouted Surrey. "We've got a story for you." She looked at the doctor. "The story of an alien. A strange and crazy alien. He's called the Doctor, and he can show you the most amazing things in the universe." The front row sat down again, and Surrey and the doctor told them a story. The story of a madman in a blue box, travelling through time and space. A reluctant hero turning up in unlikely places. Often scary, sometimes dark, but always bringing light and hope where it's most needed. As they spoke, the arrow spotlights increased in number, sweeping across the stage in a kaleidoscope of colour. The audience cheered in delight, and the lights moved faster, dancing above their heads in shades of red, green, and gold as the arrows repaired their damaged craft. Finally, the entire ship burst into view, enveloping the theatre in a cathedral of light. It flew up through the roof and out into the night sky, off into the glittering darkness of the Milky Way. "Right, I've got a show to do," Sarah said. She and the doctor had made swift exit to the props room, leaving the rather confused stage crew to figure out what had just happened. "Jade's too shaken up to go on tonight. This afternoon warmed me up nicely." "Go easy on the spotlights," said the doctor, smiling for the first time since Sarah had met him. "Where did the adults go?" said Sarah. "Where everyone wants to go on Christmas Eve," he said. "Home. How about you, Doctor? Any Christmas plans?" "Oh, I've got a time machine, Sarah. Every day is Christmas, if I want it to be." The doctor smiled again. This time, Sarah noticed that the smile didn't quite reach his eyes.